Hey everybody, Scott from Tilly the Lad here. The Nintendo Switch has obtained a tremendous amount of ports slash re-releases slash remasters throughout its life cycle. Nintendo has ported many games from its back catalog to the console. Recent examples include The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, Super Mario 3D World, Pikmin 3, and Metroid Prime. Third parties have also jumped in on the action. Xbox made headlines when they agreed for 2015's Ori and the Blind Forest, one of the most critically acclaimed games from the Xbox One line of systems, to make its way Switch side in 2019. Bethesda, as they do, re-released Skyrim on the system during its launch here. In the past few months, Atlus made all modern Persona titles available for purchase on the Switch, with 5 Royal getting a physical edition. All of this is to say that ports, re-releases, and remasters seem to be a dime a dozen on the Nintendo Switch. I'm certainly not going to complain about that, as this practice has allowed me to visit some classics. Just recently I completed my first playthrough of the original Portal, and I loved it. So I wanted to take this opportunity to walk through some of my wishlist games I'd love to see ported to the console. I'll start with a super obvious pair of titles, the Wii U HD remasters of The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. These two games originally released on the GameCube. Twilight Princess was a cross-gen release on both Wii and GameCube, and made their way over to the Wii U around a decade later. Wind Waker is a fan favorite. Its cel-shaded art style, initially infamously panned by fans, has helped it age like a fine wine, at least from a visual standpoint. Things aren't as positive on the gameplay side of things though. From my personal experience with the original GameCube release, the big annoyance for me was that endgame series of fetch quests. They were tedious, boring, and ran on for far too long. It nearly broke my heart because I absolutely adored the game up to this point. Another common critique was that the sailing was slow. It took too long to get from point A to point B, thereby making the Great Sea feel needlessly void. The Wii U remaster addressed both of these concerns. It made those late game fetch quests more manageable and increased sailing speed and control over the direction of the wind. I have less to say about Twilight Princess. I did own a copy on the GameCube, but I never got very far. Still, many consider it to be peak traditional 3D Zelda, and I'd love the opportunity to revisit and complete it for the first time. Many Wii U games have been brought over to the Switch, so it certainly appears doable. I already mentioned a few titles in my intro, but some other examples include New Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, Bayonetta 2, Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. I'll move on from one pair of games to another, Super Smash Bros. 64 and Super Smash Bros. Melee. I have immense nostalgia for the original Smash Bros. I grew up with a Nintendo 64, but I remember only having 2 games for it, Mario 64 and Smash 64. I had so much fun with both of them. With Smash 64, I remember constantly playing against the computer and inviting friends over to see how I stacked up. A weird, vivid memory I have is I had a friend who played as Donkey Kong, and he'd always grab me, and I had no idea how to defend against grabs, so I got really frustrated. The game has not aged particularly well, but I'd still love the chance to play it again. I hope it gets added to the Nintendo Switch Online service as part of the expansion pass tier. Melee might be a harder sell, both for Nintendo and the competitive Smash community. I won't get into detail, even if I wanted to. I'm horribly qualified to educate you all on it. But there is a very complicated, messy history surrounding this game that might make bringing it to the Switch more trouble than it's worth. This idea may very well be rejected, but here's what I'd like to see. First, native 4x3 letterbox and 16:9 widescreen support. There should also be online play with modes similar to what exists in previous Smash installments, a casual party-focused mode with items, and a competitive mode that is stock-based and has no items. Nintendo's online systems are notoriously subpar and far behind what Xbox and PlayStation offer, but as someone who semi-regularly plays Mario Kart 8 and Splatoon 3 online, I can say that it has gotten better. The company is sometimes capable of releasing a game with functional and stable online. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the latest Smash game on the console, is now completed, and it has been for some time. It's not necessarily a game that Nintendo is actively trying to sell, in the sense that there is no longer a major marketing push for it. I posit that a re-release of Melee wouldn't substantially cut into Ultimate sales. I'd also argue this isn't a zero-sum game. Just because someone buys Melee doesn't mean they won't spend their money on Ultimate. In fact, maybe the opposite could be true. Another game I'd love to see added to the Switch's library is Kid Icarus Uprising. This is a title that launched on the 3DS in spring 2012. Masahiro Sakurai, who coincidentally just so happens to be the creator of the Smash Bros. Series, served as the project's lead developer. The game infamously uses an unconventional control scheme that requires the user to constantly hold the console with one hand and the stylus with the other. The 3DS isn't a particularly heavy console, especially the launch model, but this could still prove to be uncomfortable in longer play sessions. Indeed, quite a few fans reported getting hand cramps. The game did come with a stand for the console to ease some pressure on the hand that held the system, but even this wasn't perfect. I'm also naturally left-handed when it comes to writing utensils. There is a control scheme for us lefties, but I hear it isn't as ideal. It apparently uses the A, B, X, Y buttons to move pit. I could for sure use my right hand to wield the stylus, and I'd probably get used to it after a bit of time, but that adds yet another layer of uncomfortableness to the game. Those who got used to the controls, or maybe more accurately got used to dealing with them, sing the game's praises. They are a passionate bunch who say it is one of the best pieces of software in the 3DS's stacked library. I'd love to experience it. Pit and Palutena are among my favorite characters in Smash Bros. I often play with these two as a pair in team battles. I absolutely adore their character designs. I do own a 3DS, so I could buy the game, but its price is getting ridiculous on the secondhand market, at least here in North America. It can go for well over $100 US, though to be sure you can still find a copy for around its original release price. On top of that, the aforementioned unconventional control scheme is a little intimidating. That is why I'd love for it to come to Switch so it could be fully compatible with a conventional dual-stick controller. The game also apparently has a fun and competent competitive online mode that should, if feasible, be preserved. I'll end with a bit of a wacky one. I'd like to see the original Halo re-release for the Nintendo Switch. I think it would be cool if it came with a physical version and there was a reversible cover that is Xbox themed. Sonic Mania did something similar where the alternate cover mimicked the look of a Genesis/Mega Drive game box art. Perhaps Xbox could do something a little simpler. They could essentially replicate a standard Switch sleeve but use green instead of red and have the Xbox logo at the top left. Or they could go a bit more involved and design a cover that closely resembles an original Xbox game design. It would be awesome if they included the game's online multiplayer and made it cross-platform compatible with folks playing Halo CE on the Master Chief Collection on Xbox and PC. I think the game could find success on Switch. It is a bona fide classic, one of the pioneers that helped cement the first-person shooter genre on console. It is part of Xbox's flagship franchise and helped put the original Xbox on the map. One might ask, why not just port the whole original trilogy over? Basically, I have PTSD from the Master Chief Collection's launch in 2014. I think it would be best to keep the scope of the project limited to keep ambition in check. If Halo 1 performs well, then discussions about re-releasing Halo 2 and 3 can begin. This idea isn't outside the realm of possibility. First of all, original Xbox games have made their way Switch side before. The original Knights of the Old Republic and Star Wars Republic Commando released on the console in 2021, and Knights of the Old Republic 2 followed suit the following year. In addition, Xbox and Nintendo have established and maintained a solid working relationship for quite some time now. They embrace cross-platform play long before PlayStation. Microsoft has previously ported games from its first and second-party catalog to the Switch with the likes of Minecraft and the Ori duology. They've discussed their intention to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo's platform if the Activision deal goes through, and they even signed a legally binding 10-year agreement to do just that. This is a scenario where both companies potentially stand to benefit. Nintendo gets Halo CE, one of the all-time classics, on its platform, Xbox gets a piece of the revenue from the sales, and perhaps gets some Nintendo fans interested in the franchise. They could use that as an opportunity to bring those prospective customers into their ecosystem by advertising Halo Infinite and the Master Chief Collection. At the same time though, I could understand if one had reservations or concerns about this idea. Halo is special for Xbox. It might be a little too weird to see it on another console manufacturer's platform. I'm also perhaps overestimating how well the game could sell. Regardless, that concludes my short list of games I'd love to see ported to the Switch. Thank you everyone for watching, and until next time, take care.